Let's analyze the state of its data. When standing naturally with both feet apart, its lung capacity is 4,800. When supported by the right foot, its lung capacity is 4,800. When supported by the left foot with the right foot at ease, the lung capacity is 4,500. This indicates which leg bears the weight. Is it the right side? When supported by the right foot, the lung capacity is the same as when supported by both feet. However, when supported by the left foot, the lung capacity drops by 300. This means that during running, it can only inhale fully when landing on the right foot. When landing on the left foot, it cannot inhale fully. Therefore, if it lands on the left foot and uses it for breathing, it will experience a side stitch. Do you understand? This indicates that its usual center of gravity is locked on the right leg. Such a person is actually not suitable for running. The more they run, the greater the pressure on one side of the joints, leading to unilateral knee pain. So what is the most suitable aerobic exercise for such a member? The most suitable is cycling, especially on a recumbent bike, as the larger the support area, the smaller the impact of the imbalance between the two sides. How to improve. Once you identify the problem, I'll teach you how to improve it later, okay? Finally, what is the ideal state? The ideal state is that whether I rest on my right foot or my left foot, my lung capacity remains the same. Isn't this the best state? In other words, no matter which foot I'm supporting myself with, my lungs should be able to fill with air. This is the most perfect state. So what does this mean? It means that his right side organs have been under high pressure for a long time. Can you understand this? Isn't it being pressed like this? And then, because the support is always on the right side, a lot of air fills the left lung, so the left diaphragm sinks very low. In this situation, if the left side of the stomach is very full, it feels very tight because the left diaphragm is pressed even lower, so it feels like the food is always pressing here. In reality, it's not pressing here, it's pressing against the diaphragm. In most cases, those who train for strength are women of the same height, weight, and age group. Generally, women who engage in strength training have a higher lung capacity than those who do yoga or Pilates. Given the same height, weight, and age, remember this. It's because the diaphragm never sinks to its lowest point in a natural breathing state. Do you remember how much our diaphragm can multiply in the front? It can multiply by 12 after 10, which is the maximum range. However, during the process of practicing breathing, when you just inhale, it won't engage all the muscle fibers of the diaphragm. Therefore, your diaphragm never sinks to the very bottom. So why does it sink when lifting weights? Because when lifting weights, the diaphragm needs to stabilize. In the process of stabilizing, it needs to contract more intensely and engage more muscle fibers. That's why it can sink at this time. So, can you understand why female members who lift weights regularly have a lower diaphragm descent range compared to those who practice yoga regularly? Because when practicing yoga, you are not bearing weight. Without weight, when you are just sitting in a lotus position practicing breathing, your diaphragm can only descend halfway. When the diaphragm sinks, your core is contracting, and at this time, your inhalation ability improves, and the stability of your thoracic cavity also becomes better. So, if you want to train the stability of the thoracic cavity, you need the diaphragm to sink low with core contracting and expanding. Then, in this state, prevent it from rising. Your thoracic cavity is the most stable. However, the pressure on your abdominal cavity and pelvic floor muscles will be greater.